Okay, welcome back. Day 2 of the Volunteer Recruiting Challenge, where I, your host, Kenny Connolly, am going to attempt to recruit 50 volunteers for my ministry over the next 90 days. Yesterday in day 1, we talked about this practice that I like to do called Clarify the Need. How many volunteers do I actually need to recruit? It's much easier to have a target to point to, a target to shoot for. So today I thought we'd dive in practical into my current volunteer list, my current situation, and look and see how many volunteers I actually need to recruit. So check this out.
I call it my volunteer dashboard or my volunteer dashboard roster. And it basically does what I suggested yesterday about mapping out all the rooms that you have and all where you need volunteers, and then also to get a head count of how many volunteers you currently have to figure out exactly apples to apples how many volunteers you actually need. So I'm going to scroll through this because it's set up so that way it looks better on this video. But here is the document. This is at the church where I'm currently serving at the Ridge. And here's what you see. These are the columns. Here's my service column. So I've got a couple 8 o'clock spots. We have very small 8 o'clock service. Here's the 9:30 volunteer spots. And then here's my 11:15 volunteer spots. Okay, scroll over. Here's the room names. And I've set this up cool where you can just click on it. I can choose what service, room. I can choose between all my rooms, my roles, SGL, this is short for small group leader, coach, student leader, check-in, blah, 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 all that stuff. And then I have right here, I have frequency. So how often is this person serving? Weekly, every other week, first and third, every other week, second and fourth, sub, monthly. Okay, those are those. Here's a place for first name, last name, their age, and I like to specify whether they're a student in high school, student in middle school, or adult. And actually, I don't have them yet, but I will be this year, junior leaders. So any of my 4th and 5th graders that are serving, I would have another designation and age as of junior leader, just so I know who's in the room. Phone, email, staff, here's where I decide who's either this volunteer is assigned to me or assigned to another one of my staff people. So that's basically this spreadsheet. It's really great. I use this spreadsheet almost every day. So it's just a great way for me and my staff to keep up with where everyone is. So here's what I've done. This is a blank one. Okay, there's no names in it, and I basically created a room. I've got one room open during my 8 o'clock service, and I need 3 volunteers in it every week. So just, idealistically, if I could recruit a weekly volunteer, I'm going to start with that. That's going to be my norm. Now, not everybody's going to serve weekly. So I've got room where I can put people every other week or so. But basically, on any given Sunday, I need 3 volunteers. Now, here's what would happen. If I have somebody who only serves every other week, what that basically means is I need to create a second one here, and I'm going to copy the data from this row to this row, and then this person is going to be every other week, first and third. This person is every other week, second and fourth. So that way I still have on the first and third weeks, these are my 3 volunteers. On the second and fourth weeks, these are going to be my 3 volunteers. Does that make sense? So that's how the spreadsheet works. I'm going to show you where you can get a copy of a template of this spreadsheet. So I love it. I've been using it for years, and I literally use it every week, making sure that my database software is always synced up with it. So here, let's look at my other rooms. I've got a nursery room. It's room 4. I got 3 spots in it for volunteers. I got room 5, which is we call it toddler A, 3 spots in it. Toddler B, 3 spots in it. Pre-K, 3 spots in it. Are you seeing a pattern here? I basically have 3 spots for all the rooms that I have. This is how we currently staff. And then I have 2 check-in volunteers, 2 coaches, a hospitality volunteer, and 2 special needs buddies. We only do special needs at 9:30, so the 11:15 is almost identical. I just don't have those special needs buddies. But look at this. So I just mapped this out. This is super easy. I've done this at the Ridge where I'm at now. I did this at my last church at Mariners, where this was like 5 times as long. It's just a very easy way to visualize on any given Sunday, I need this many number of humans. So how many is it? When I scroll down to the bottom, there's a little Excel and a Google Sheets hack. if you scroll down this way and just hold all of these cells here, you get to the bottom, and I click on that, down here at the bottom, it counts it, and I've got 58. So 58 total spots, okay? I need 58 human beings. Tomorrow, this Sunday, I need 58 volunteers, okay? If I go to the next thing I talked about is how many volunteers do I actually have. Now here's actual volunteers, okay? I got rid of their last name, so it keeps them anonymous here. But here's all their information spread in. This is how many adults and high schoolers, middle schoolers. And remember I talked about adding the value to each one. So this volunteer here at 8 o'clock, actually all my 8 o'clock volunteers, they're all weekly. Okay, I don't know why this one says sub. It should be a small group leader as well. And so I gave each one of them a value of 1, okay, because they're here every week. Now I'll come over here at 9:30 in the nursery. I've got 2 that are weekly, but then I have 3 that are every other week, okay? So look, give them their values, 1, 1, and then 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. That basically just means that this volunteer is only here half the weekends. This volunteer is only here half the weekend. So it's a crude way to actually count apples for apples, how many volunteers I actually have compared to the number of spots I actually need. Does that make sense? Okay, and I do this all the way down, and this is just a really great way. Again, I'm gonna drag down so I can count my volunteers. And here we go, we get to the end, and I've got 38.5 volunteers. That means on any given Sunday, I got 38 and a half volunteers. Okay, this is really interesting because now I go back to this sheet, and how many I need? 58 is almost exactly. I need 20 more volunteers. I need 20 more volunteers. Okay. Now, what I told you that we are getting ready to move into a new facility, and as we move to a new facility, I need some extra volunteers. I need a couple more check-in volunteers. I need an extra coach at each service. I need a couple more small group leaders, not many, okay? We don't expect to grow right away. And so same thing, at the 11:15, a couple more check-in volunteers, another coach, a couple more small group leaders. Oh, I'm gonna change that back to small group leader here. And, but one thing that I do need that I don't currently have is we're getting ready to move into a full-on large group, small group experience. And so I've got some storytellers to recruit, and I've got some hosts and some tech and some worship to recruit for each service and in my preschool room. So I've got a lot more volunteers to recruit. See this? And I went ahead and added some of them are monthly because they're like my storytellers. I recruit them for once a month, but they're the storyteller for both services or all the services. So, but I still got to count them because I need to recruit 4 of them. Okay. But when I total this up, this is 43 volunteers. So if I add these up from 58 that I currently need, and then these extra ones, 43, that's 101 volunteers that I need. Now, some of these are pie in the sky a little bit. Like these storytellers, there's a couple weeks where me or my other staff member, we can fill in on these. I may not have coaches right away. I might not have quite this many worship yet to start off with, but ballpark, I need 101 volunteers. Now let's go back to my total volunteer count. I have 38 volunteers. So essentially I need about 60 volunteers. Okay, so I'm pretty close. I said I needed 50. I really need about 60, but I feel like that's a pretty decent count and accurate. Now I'll show you how this actually looks. This is my active roster, how I use this. So you can see the messiness of this because look, I got my 3 weekly people here that serve, but then in my nursery room, here's my 2 weekly people, and then I've got 3 every other week people here. So I use this. This gives me an idea. I can see, look, there's an empty spot. There's an empty spot. There's 2 empty spots. So this shows me where my empty spots are. Look, I don't really have very many check-in people or coaches or hospitality yet. Most of my small group leader positions are filled, but as those other ones. So I'll show you how you can get a copy of this as a template if you want to use this as well. But this is how you get your number. How many volunteers do I actually need to recruit? Clarify the need.
Okay, was that helpful? You took a deep dive into my current situation, and it looks like between what my current needs are and the needs that I'm planning for as we move into our new space in 2 months, I'm going to need about 101 volunteers every weekend to pull off the ministry to kids at the Ridge. So, and currently I'm about 50 to 60 short. So that's really helpful. I'll nail down that specific exact number so I can start communicating that and working towards that as a goal. That resource, that document that I was using, if you want a template or copy that, you can find that and follow along in this volunteer recruiting journey at ministryboost.org/90, and we'll share that with you as well. So why don't you clarify your need and let us know how many volunteers you need to recruit.